Hello monsters and monster enthusiasts, I'm Monster J Art and welcome to my channel. So for today's video I wanted to try something a little bit different. I love to make makeup tutorials that are really in detail, the kind of makeup tutorial that I wish I would have found when I started to learn makeup on my own, but the problem is that oftentimes they end up being really long. So instead I want to start a new series where I pick one makeup technique and I explain it in detail. Also now in my new setup I have an overview mode available and I think it really helps to see how I use my brushes, the water, the paint, how I apply it on my skin. So it really helps to teach how to do it. For the first technique that I want to explain, I decided to pick the wet on dry mixing technique. This is probably the most commonly used and the most intuitive way of mixing two colors of water activated paint together. So before we jump into the subject, just some quick reminder, you can give a like and subscribe to the channel to see more art tutorial and art related videos. You can also follow me on Instagram to see pictures of my makeups and my drawings, and you can find the link in the description. So now that being said, let's go in overview mode and explain how to do the wet on dry body paint mixing technique. So now let's do a demonstration of the wet on dry body paint technique. So basically this is the most common technique that I use with body paint. I think it's the most basic way to mix two colors of body paint together. The first thing that you need to do is to apply a base layer and wait that it dries down. Obviously if you want to do wet on dry, you need the paint to dry. So I will first apply it and then I will explain the process a little bit more while it dries down. So I will do two quick demonstration, one with a softer contrast and one with a harsher contrast. So for the area with the softer contrast, I will cover the whole area with the lightest color. So it's really important to apply a base layer because other than that you may not get enough coverage and your skin color may show through. So yeah, and also I'm saying a base layer, but doesn't mean that you go apply only one layer of body paint. So you can apply one or two layers, as much as you need, until you get full coverage, until that you just see the color of your body paint and that it really covers the color of your skin. So for the soft contrast, I cover the whole area here with yellow, and for the one with the harsher contrast, I will cover around 2/3 of it using the lightest color. So yet again, you can apply more than one layer. And then for the last third, I will use my darker color. I will just apply it. I don't start to blend them yet. I just want to have my base layer. So yeah, I need a little bit more. Also, just work with the consistency of your body paint. For the base layer, I prefer to have a thicker consistency generally. So yeah, and now I need it to dry down. So basically normally what I do when I'm doing face paint, generally I don't really have to wait that long because it have time to dry before I move on. So basically what I'm doing normally when I do a full face paint is I always go from the lightest color to the darkest. So generally I would go from white to black, and like here I take yellow as one of my lighter color. I will do all of the area where I will use yellow. I will cover them in the base layer, and by the time I cover the last area, the first area will probably have the time to dry. So generally when I'm covering a bigger area than just the back of my hand, it's enough to get the paint to dry down. So yeah, normally that's what I do. Now here not ready yet, but here it's pretty much dry. So what I'll do is I'll take my brush with the orange and I will apply orange on top and then drag the body paint toward the middle. So basically here for the softer contrast, I will go from yellow to yellow plus orange, while here for the harsher contrast, I will go from yellow to yellow plus orange to orange. So that's basically the main difference between the two. So I go with orange, bring it toward the middle, then I go with the lightest color, I go back with yellow, pretty much, kind of a little bit watery. and go toward the middle. Here it's a little different. Basically what I'll do is I'll go and I will generally love to just rub it on my paper towel to remove the orange that could have accumulated on my brush before diving back into the yellow. So then I apply another color of yellow, rub it quickly, grab some yellow, rub it, because otherwise, like when I apply, you kind of see, I just got some orange body paint on my yellow brush, so I just want to remove it. And yeah, that's basically, you just have to be careful with that. But in case of doubt, rub your brush on your paper towel and you go as much as you need. As I said, you don't I prefer to have, generally when a beginner mistake is to always add too much water when you're blending your things. So it's better to have a thicker, I prefer to work with a thicker consistency, and you go back and forth until you get the desired result. Also, when I'm working with the lightest color, I don't have to always start from this end. I can just start from the middle if I need to. Like that, and generally, sometimes you can do some side motion to kind of remove some of the visible brush strokes. And when I think I'm done, in case of doubt, rinse. But when I think I'm done, I will go back with the lighter color and reapply it at the base. But yeah, to make sure that to cover all of the orange spot that may still be there. Now we'll work with the other one. In this case, you can have a little more structure or guidance. So basically, I will grab my orange brush, just a little bit of water, and I will come and cover 2/3 of the area with orange, like this. And then I will cover 2/3 of the area with yellow. So, still a little bit too watery. So yes, I just rub it in and remove the excess water on the side. So now I go bring like 2/3. Quickly try to remove some of the orange. Go back. That's, I mean, color contamination is not that bad, but yeah, just doing those quick rub can help to alleviate it. So, and then you go back and forth. As I like before, you don't have to always go 2/3 and to always start from the other end. So here I'm reapplying some orange, bring it toward the middle. Then I go back with yellow. And back and forth until you get the desired result. Here I will reapply some yellow on the base, try to cover those spots of orange that I just got. And that's basically how you mix your colors together. So as you can see here, I mean, it's still pretty orange here, but I do get a contrast that is a little bit softer here than it is here. Also, just be aware that once the color dried down, the color may changed a little bit. Like for here, when the yellow dries down, it will become a little more opaque, so the color of my skin will have less influence on it. So yeah, I mean, the result may vary a little bit once it's dried down. I want to talk about with brushes. As you can see, personally, I prefer to have one brush for each color, and generally while I'm doing the process, I just rub it on the paper towel. As I said, try to prevent a color contamination, but it's not that big of a deal. Once I'm done with my two colors, then I rinse both of my brush in the water and still rub it on my paper towel. And if I feel like there's still some stain left, I will use like a makeup cleaner spray on my brush to remove the rest of it. But generally just rinsing it in water and rubbing on the paper towel, generally it's enough for my brushes to be clean and use with other colors. So yeah, that's basically how you mix two colors of body paint together to get a contrast. Also, quick side note, I always prefer to use colors that are close to each other. Like I prefer to use yellow and orange, because instead of like yellow and red, the bigger the contrast you will have between your two colors, the harder it will be to blend them. The other thing is, you don't have to just restrict yourself on two colors in a row. Like you can do yellow to orange, but then I can add another section here where I have like orange and red, for instance. If you want to make a very long contrast, you can do this, but generally it's a very good technique to use if you have an area that is not that big. Generally, using like 3 colors to do a contrast like that, it's a little bit much, so generally only with 2 colors it's enough. And sometimes if you have to lighten things up, you can just add another layer of white on top, like if you want to do some highlight. But generally that's the way I do it. Do you have any question about the wet on dry body paint technique, or about body paint in general? If so, you can leave it in the comments down below. And that's how you do the wet and dry makeup technique with water activated paint. So I hope you really enjoyed the video. If so, please feel free to give a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye!